Hello, I want to talk to you today about the powerful benefits of journaling. My name is Declan Lyons and I'm a consultant psychiatrist at St. Patrick's Mental Health Services. So when we think of journaling, we might think of somebody like Anne Frank. The nicest part is being able to write down all my thoughts and feelings, otherwise I might suffocate. That's a direct quote from her. We also might think of teens writing a diary while they deal with raging hormones. But actually journaling is a bit more than that. It's the practice of keeping a diary or a journal that explores thoughts and feelings surrounding the events of your life. Fundamentally, it's an act of expressive writing, or it might be called therapeutic writing. And that dates back as far as the 2nd century AD, when the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote "To myself." We know it's a useful tool, though, among many others, for stress reduction, self-knowledge, and emotional healing when necessary. Really, it's time-honored self-therapy. When we journal, we etch our observations of life onto paper for posterity or to expunge, indeed, stressful emotions. Really, paper and pen is the cheapest form of therapy. The paper is a blank canvas. We can reread it and rewrite it and edit it. We can recraft it for sharing in therapy with a therapist, or we can destroy it to maintain our own privacy. The page absorbs every statement without judgment, question, or reprisal. It's available 24/7, day and night, and it holds us without judging or reassuring, but quietly. When we return to redraft what we've written, we have different insights and perspectives. It reframes our sentiments, our biases, and our judgments. Now, we may not choose to do this if we don't write or express ourselves. Well, our emotional concerns can be bottled up, and if habitually we do this, this damages our physical and emotional well-being. And our cortisol levels, our stress hormone levels, can spike in the bloodstream, raising our blood pressure and even damaging the immune system. Hostility, anger, or shame and guilt may indicate overly suppressed emotional responses, and this indeed can lead to anxiety and depression. But journaling has been shown to repair the immune system, boosting particularly important a subset of white cells in the bloodstream, the T lymphocytes, and that's been research done in the University of Austin, Texas, demonstrating real scientific, biological benefits, if you like, of writing. Now, we may see writing as homework and we may delay lifting the pen and we may be reluctant to start, but the positive effects of journaling can be felt even if we don't do it every day, and you don't have to do it every day. Any writing is better than none. How does writing help? Well, it guides us to confront previously inhibited emotions, reducing the stress from that inhibition, helping us to process difficult events, composing a narrative about our experiences, and by repeated exposure to negative emotions or trauma, they can actually reduce and even extinguish. But we can grow in resilience in that process, and emotional self-awareness too. It makes us more self-aware of our sneaky, unhealthy patterns in our thoughts and behaviors, to take control over our lives and put things in a perspective. We can shift from a more negative mindset to a more self-accepting mindset, a mindset that is fundamentally more accepting about ourselves. And we know in journaling or writing, the rational left brain hemisphere is very active. And the right hemisphere of the brain, the creative area, is basically given space to expand and flourish. And this is cathartic and improves our sense of well-being. So it's a lovely balance of activity between the left and the right hemispheres. The left brain analyzes and the right brain is free to intuit, and it clarifies our thoughts and basically takes the heat out of our raw emotions. Other benefits: if it can reduce anxiety, it can also boost mood. And one study showed that a mood boost is available to us by journaling even 15 minutes, 3 days a week over 12 weeks. It creates this self-awareness, as I said. It regulates our emotions by labeling them, by distancing ourselves, detaching ourselves from these most personal inner psychological experiences. And it can reduce a sense of brooding and rumination, which can be unhealthy. It encourages opening up, and as we've said, can even speed up physical healing. If If you're in a conflict situation, if you're really stuck in a kind of a dispute or a conflict, a very interesting exercise is to try writing a paragraph entitled Other Person's Perspective. Very interesting. It serves basically as a scaffold for our memory. Remember, we can write lists, we can write a to-do list, it can improve cognitive function and relieve pressure on our brains if we use these to-do lists. That's not being lazy, it's actually quite a useful skill. Journaling and writing can improve our communication skills, our creativity, and our self-confidence if we relive positive experiences. It's not just about writing about the negative, it should be about the positive as well. Now, we want a good technique as we do journaling or creative writing or therapeutic expressive writing, rather than just a brain dump. So there's a WRITE acronym I want to share with you. The W stands for what do you want to write about? What's going on in your life? Can you give it a name? The R stands for review or reflect on it. It calms the body and mind. Keep your statements in the present tense where possible. The I in WRITE stands for investigate. Investigate the thoughts and feelings that may permeate your writing. Refocus and read over and keep going. The T stands for time yourself. Do you want to write for 5 minutes or 20 minutes? Or maybe you want to write for an unlimited period of time. And the E is exit. Exit strategically and reflect and sum up. And takeaway sentences that can be useful start with, as I read this, I notice, or I'm becoming more aware of, or I feel, or indeed write down any action points that may come from your writing. You may above all want to write in private. You want to write distraction-free. You may want to write on consecutive days rather than every day, aiming for 3 to 4 sessions at least before you judge the benefits of it. Reflect and ground yourself after writing. Structure it as you wish, without obligation to write about anything, such as a traumatic event. You don't have to write about anything. You may just want to get into a state of flow. But above all, keep the writing private. How to start? Start with a goal. 10 minutes every day or alternate days could be reasonable. Let it flow. As I said, there is no wrong way to write or to journal. Don't overthink. There are no rules to follow, and you can ditch obsessions with spelling or grammar. You can just forget about that. If you're stuck, maybe choose a topic or a theme for the week. As I say, keep it private, maybe under lock and key, maybe password protected. You can journal in multimedia. It doesn't have to be on the keyboard or with the paper and pen. It could be through voice recordings, painting, or any other art medium. Stress and the need for self-care. All this can seem a bit self-indulgent, maybe a bit selfish. It is not. Self-care, let's define it. It's the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health, or the practice of taking an active role in protecting one's own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress. What is selfish about that? If chronic stress is the enemy, and it is for a lot of us, self-care matters and is a fundamental act of self-respect. But self-care takes practice. Having a bubble bath once does not count. So there should be no place for guilt in all of this. After all, if you want to be a light for others, you have to glow yourself. A regular audit, a life audit on paper, we can ask ourselves in general in our lives, how am I doing? And what are the 5 small steps to doing that? How often do we kind of speculate about the future? How often do we plan things in our heads without actually committing it to paper? And yet the commission to paper can be a very, very powerful act. So you might want to decide really on which areas of life to write about and examine. Is it your health? Is it your relationships or your finance, your work, your passions, your hobbies, your spirituality? Write down questions to ask yourself. Am I happy? Am I using my full potential? And try and answer them honestly. And create a practical plan to address any issues above all. Now, sometimes it can be useful when you're doing this kind of audit to set a time limit. It could take an hour. Your goals could take an hour that flow from it. It could take a month to achieve a goal or even 5 years to achieve what you desire. So we have to be realistic in this life audit exercise. Sometimes it can be helpful to write about, what we desire. But Thich Nhat Hanh, who you'll know that name from mindfulness, talked about gaining inner peace by noticing what we don't have. He gives the analogy of a toothache. A toothache is terrible. It really captivates our attention. But when it's gone, we immediately focus on other concerns. We don't really feel this enduring sense of gratitude, the dentist, or that the toothache is gone. So for equanimity practice, try focusing on what you don't have. That is a list of things we are not experiencing, but which would be very unpleasant if we did. Another way of looking at it, and this is quite an Irish way of saying it, it could be worse. And these items could include, I enjoy not being in hospital. I enjoy not vomiting or not having a migraine. I enjoy not being caught outdoors in a blizzard. I enjoy my car not having a flat tire. Try and maybe compile 10 items, as too often we reflect on the things that we do have and maybe what's wrong with them. But we need to broaden our perspective by noticing all the things we don't suffer from. Now, do you need to do a paper and pen, or can you use the keyboard? Can you plug in? Research has looked at this, and no difference was found in the therapeutic outcomes in terms of journaling using a paper and pen or a keyboard. So it's up to you. If you're journaling digitally, as we said, do keep it password protected. Paper is cheaper though. If you begin journaling on holiday, for example, paper is everywhere. Even hotel stationery will do until you can buy a notebook. If you were taken hostage, just imagine this scenario. What would you prefer? Would you prefer a single novel or a blank notebook and pen? If you had the blank notebook and pen, you could write a script about your experience. You could describe the characters, the personalities of the kidnappers, your dialogue, and so on. Write about, as James Pennebaker says, write about what keeps you awake at night. And keep going. See writing as a practice, like yoga or meditation or the gym. Aim to use writing to reframe experiences and events from a perspective of compassion and empathy. Write about everyday events with attention to detail if you can. It's not all about trauma to upheaval though. We can write to appreciate the good in a sometimes bad world, or write to change perspectives on any issue. We can write a self-affirmation, or we can write about our legacy for other people. And we can write above all creatively with fiction, poetry, dance, and art. So I wish you the best with your therapeutic writing. And finally, I want to share some resources with you. I've referenced James Pennebaker, and he is a psychologist who has written a lot about the scientific benefits of journaling and how that can be embarked upon. His book, co-written with John Evans in 2014, Expressive Writing Words That Heal, Idle Arbor Press. So that's one reference you want to know about. In terms of a print article from the New York Times, Hayley Phelan wrote about what's all this about journaling, and it's quite a useful summary article. And something from the internet, The Benefits of Journaling for Stress Management by Elizabeth Scott. And the reference is there, the web address. And you will sometimes come across these quite expensive journals and diaries. And one that I just want you to be aware of is a Trig Life Mapper. It's quite an elaborate notebook and diary that really is very well structured. Or another one, the 6-Minute Diary. Again, a very well structured diary tool that I think you will find very useful. So again, whatever your form of writing, whenever you get to do it, the very best of luck with your journey. Thank you.